Rachel from Wear Many Hats. This is season 2 and we are kicking off this morning with Charlie. He has come this morning to tell us about himself. Charlie works as a residential building manager at the moment. His name's Charlie Wells. I didn't say that, sorry. And has been an ops manager before. So some quite exciting stuff that he's going to be telling us this morning. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. We're privileged to have you here this morning. Did you come far this morning?
No, I've come in from Canary Wharf, actually, from my building, so Harrods Square. I've come straight over, so not far at all, and that's what I'm looking after at the moment. It's a lovely, fantastic estate.
Yes, Canary Wharf, isn't it?
Correct, yes. Over at Woodwolf, Canary Wharf Group, over on the Woodwolf side. A lovely development or estate of Harrods Square, comprised of a lot of social housing built to rents at the moment, a couple of commercial units as well.
Nice, a bit of a mixed bag.
Yes, correct. Yeah. It's a brilliant role, fantastic opportunity.
Brilliant. We'll hear more about that in a little while, but let's rewind. Where did it all start for you?
Oh, yes. It's always the first question on it. So I'm pretty much like a lot of the other users that have been, other podcastees that have been here. I pretty much found myself into it, really. I started my working career just looking for a job, sort of come out of school,
right.
And was looking for a new opportunity and what I could do. And I found myself as a Christmas temp.
Okay.
Harrods.
Wow. Yes, I saw.
Yes. Harrods took me on as a Christmas temp, looking after their stock. I was a porter for their home department.
Right.
Entertaining at home. So I used to look after their china, their vases, all the little bits like that, all the dinner sets and dining sets. Sort of a 3-month contract, just sort of looking after bits and bobs for them, just look after the storeroom, helping out during the Christmas period when it was busy. I think they just liked me a lot. I got quite lucky. My storeroom was opposite the floor manager at the time. Right. And I just had a really clean storeroom, had a good time, and they kept me on.
Okay.
Moved me over into quality control, and I was a quality control porter for them.
Okay.
Which was quite a niche and fantastic role at the time. There was sort of 4 of us in a little department. We was basically looking after their CAFM system, so people would report into the system, into the software, and we would delegate that out, whether it was to an engineer, whether it was plumbing, heating, cooling, and delegating that out. And then I also had quite a niche part of just looking after some garments.
Okay.
We used to collect a lot of the fittings, so they'd do the fittings and the alterations on the floors with the higher end sort of celebrities and whoever they were, the VIPs, and we would come about, collect the garments and put them all up. I remember, I'll give you an example. I'll give you one actually. I remember seeing Mel B, and having a lot of Mel B clothes while I was there. Actually, to be fair, so that was always quite interesting. Yeah, to be organised. We used to take them to and from and drop them off. So that was my introduction into facilities. Really, it was a facilities-based role.
Yeah, of course.
Looking after that piece of CAFM system where people would report in,
right,
and delegating that work out, and just sort of being the busy man, really, the floater, the porter.
Nice.
To and from departments.
Sounds quite exciting.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I really did.
My dad used to work for Harrods. He many moons ago. He was a window dresser.
Oh, okay, yeah. The windows are a big thing. The windows are a big thing.
Yes, they are, especially around Christmas. Oh, actually, all the time. They call them
visual merchandisers now, don't they?
Yeah. He was a window dresser back then. I'm talking a very long time ago. But yeah, Harrods is an impressive place to start your career, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I got lucky for started at a very, very good place, a good company. And I think they taught me well. They brought good standards into me as well. Very much being groomed properly on day-to-days and making sure you was presentable.
Yes.
And I think they built into me very much a customer experience of delivering a customer experience. And customer service wasn't just about customer service. It was really about delivering experience, a warm welcome, taking ownership and a seamless journey, all them principles are part of that. And that was really built into me from an early age, to be honest.
It's a really good start.
Yeah, very much a good start.
Good footing.
Because FM and facilities is pretty much about people.
Yes.
So starting in a customer service based role and a customers focused based role, I think that really helped my career develop and where I've gone.
Yeah, and having Harrods on your CV and from a young age, that look good as well.
It does. Yeah. I hope so.
Definitely, I think so. I used to be in recruitment, so I know that seeing Harrods on there knows that you've got some good, good training and some good skills, especially when they're for a little while. So where did you sort of go on from Harrods?
Yeah, I was at Harrods for quite a long time. In fairness, what I did is I ended up getting an opportunity to work more of an FM-based role, so as a facilities assistant role.
Yes.
On a temporary contract for Amazon's head office.
Okay.
I was just at Harrods for a long period of time, and I thought it was a great opportunity. And I took it with two hands. To be fair, if you know about Amazon's head offices, they're sort of fantastic with all the pick and mix, and all the fantastic free coffee, the breakout spaces, and I think it was very much the pioneers in regards to that, because it was very much an American-based concept to have an office that was very much like a second home.
Correct.
And we sort of took that on board. We took what they had done over in America, and they wanted to implement it here in London. Their office was actually based in Holborn Viaduct, actually. Okay. So they had a head office based over at Holborn Viaduct, and we moved it over to Shoreditch, which was in Principal Place. Principal Place is the whole estate. Principal Tower, which I'll go back to, ended up kind of managing a few years later.
Okay.
But Principal Place was where I moved over that transition. So I was part of the mobilisation. It was becoming part of that mobilisation period.
That must have been stressful.
I enjoyed it. I think where I was young, full of energy, just sort of come in and buzzed about around the place. I loved it. So it was very much, we'd done a lot of decommissioning from the last building as well. And then moved all the other departments over. I think the part of the strategy and the planning I never see. Right. I've probably done that a little bit later on in my career at Cancer Research, but pretty much just hands-on, getting contractors in, setting up cleaning teams and everything in that respect. I think I've done a big piece of working with the cleaning team. My main focus on that mobilisation piece was to get the cleaning team in and get them up and running. And that was all things from bins, labelling bins, sticking bins about, and pens and everything you could think of.
It's all important, isn't it? To get it all functioning and moving.
Correct. And I think that was a good start of mobilisation as well, because I started, instead of starting from your specs and your commissioning and all the rest of it, I pretty much started lower end, just getting things up on the floor and seeing what a shell and core looks like. So we moved in, it was shell and core, and it was literally from putting in desks, putting in electracks, and then went through that whole see how the FM world of things works. Really works, in regards to mobilisation and putting things in. I think a lot of examples of that was part of their ESG strategy at the time was we had a weather conditioned building. So whenever the sun would hit the building, the blinds would come down themselves, and it would help with the environment and, of course, and the commissioning of what's the word to speak, the energy efficiency of the building. So how much energy you were losing, how much energy was being put out, X, Y, Z. And that was very much the first concept of that. So I remember we very much installed all the desks too close to the windows. Right. The blinds come down and hit the desks.
Oh, yeah, so you've got...
I think that was very much my first start of FM. Problems. Yeah, all the teething problems, going through all the snags. All the floor boxes in the wrong positions, and just lifting up the floor boxes and moving them over, and just being hands-on with the engineers, because I spent a lot of time just being with the engineers and working with the cleaning teams and extra, and being hands-on. And I think that was a very good insight into mobilisation and how you set up offices and really get them going.
And also
from the ground up.
That would help you moving forward in your career. You've made those mistakes. Now
yes. On a very large scale now, I think I've been there, seen it, done it on a lot of things now, and I very much that whole piece of mobilisation is I'm very used to, very keen now at, and so like you said, catching things before they happen, so to speak.
Proactive.
Being proactive, I'm very much on the proactive side of facilities. Definitely.
So good. And where did you sort of go from there?
Yeah, so I was at JLL for a long time, just stayed on with them as well, got offered a few more contracts, just mobilisation got extended and was with them for a long period of time, to be fair. From there, I did a little bit of the Royal College of Psychiatry. Okay. For a little bit.
Interesting.
It was very much just a piece of helping them settle down, to be fair. They were a great company. They took me on as a fixed term, and I worked for them very good. It was a very new thing at the time with mental health and everyone coming in with that sort of thing. So it was nice to work for sort of a government-based building.
Yeah.
They weren't government funded; they were their own private charity.
Yes.
But they were very close with sort of funding from the government. So that was very interesting to see how they worked and they run. But then from there, I moved on quite quickly. Moved on to cancer research.
So giving back companies then.
Yeah, giving back countries. Yeah, but that's pretty much so. Cancer research was a big role for me. I came in as a facilities coordinator, a senior facilities coordinator, and managed all of their commercial aspects across the UK for them, apart from the shops. Right. So I would look after their head office, all of their labs, all up and down the country. You also had a gentleman on the podcast that looked after the labs.
Oh. Okay.
I think it's more. I think it was Michael. Yeah, I'm not too sure. He looked after Lincoln and Fields and a lot of. So I started when they just sold Lincoln Fields, and all the part that he was doing up in Cambridge, I probably inherited a lot of that. So I came in and looked after all of the production labs up in Cambridge. There was a big piece over in Oxford's head office where our caching office was. Yeah. They had obviously the Beatson unit and other things up in Scotland. So I looked after all of that from a facilities contractor perspective, a little bit more of a higher end. So I would be dealing with all the tenders of contract, and came in to look after the security as a bigger piece on labs. Because of course, security is a big piece for labs and also M&E. Especially with your clean corridors. There's a lot to do with the fan cores, 100% fresh air coming in. So there was a lot of M&E aspects and a lot of time to learn. I think cancer research gives you that, which is one of the best places. I'd definitely say they're definitely one of the best places I've ever worked. Wow. I think they're on the list of best employers to work.
Really?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they was ranked in the top 20 or top 100 or wherever they were. I love that. But absolutely brilliant place to work, some fantastic individuals and a great role. So they gave me pretty much a long leash at cancer research to pretty much just retender contracts, look after contracts, and that's very much. I worked very closely with the head of M&E at the time. Yeah. Who had great knowledge, and he very much taught me a lot. And I spent a lot of time looking after their buildings and their M&E side of things, really. Impressive. And that was very, very, very focused at head office base. So I was based over at Stratford at IQL, which is an IQL estate over at Stratford, which they was based over at Amazon. So I was part of moving their head office over to IQL estate, which we done very well at. Again, part of that mobilisation period where I think they took me on because I'd already done the mobilisation period with Amazon. They knew. So they thought, I would be a good fit to carry out that mobilisation period at a high level.
In the know.
Correct, experience. I think as well at Cancer Research, we spent a lot of time with other departments. The collaboration was very, very good, and they've got the collaboration very right there. With how we reached out to other departments and we built that head office. It was built with everybody else in mind, with each with collaboration in mind, and that was fantastic. To be honest.
And now you've moved, and now you're in your current role.
No, I didn't. I was at Cancer Research for a good 4 or 5 years. I'm getting old now, so just the only thing.
Look very young. Great to see you.
No, I left Cancer Research and I got asked to go back over to Principal Tower.
Okay.
So Principal Estate, which is where I looked after for Amazon. I looked after that, and that client over there was Brookfields. So Brookfields and Concord. Concord did the residential development with Brookfields, but the Amazon estate was a Brookfield development. Okay. And the residential tower, which was a 50-floor skyscraper based in central London, over at Liverpool Street. Yeah, pretty much a big beast. A big beast. A luxury building, very much on the map. Okay. In a world of residential, it's an investment portfolio, very much something that's shown off to clients as an investment piece. A Fosters and Partners building, which is a massive architect. and I got asked to come over there and be the operations manager.
Wow.
So I left cancer research, very sadly, and headed over to be the operations manager, with a great opportunity to look after Principal Tower.
So this, opportunity to go from.
Correct. I was staying with the client. I think the one thing that I had done over at Amazon and seen over was their defects. Obviously, being with I was with JLL at the time, who was the managing agent, so they retain all of Amazon's FM.
Yes.
We obviously see the defect list out, and they was extremely happy with how the building got set up and started running and settled. And I think there was a little bit of me coming into Principal Tower to help settle it down a little bit. There was a long defect list still outstanding, and it was
tackle that.
It was brilliant. I enjoyed that. Yeah, that's me. Sort of big energy, come in and sort of manage that defect list out, and that was a fantastic opportunity. There were some great leaseholders. It was a fantastic building, very much an occupied building as well.
Right.
So almost 90% occupied before I arrived, so it was completely sold.
Wow. Okay.
And that was fantastic. I come in to look after the residents from day to day, and I think they're again reaching back to my start of customer service experience, and it was my first residential building.
Okay.
And I think there's a big difference from residential to commercial.
Yes.
Big difference.
Absolutely.
But still the same transferable skills and knowledge.
Of course.
Same with sort of all M&E and statutory compliance is mostly the same. There's a whole big thing now, obviously, after Grenfell.
Yes.
With the Building Safety Act was put into 2022.
Yes.
With residential. So I think there's a lot more of resident engagement or key engagement with clients. So if you're in commercial world, I think you'll notice if you are in a landlord perspective and you are managing the building, you've pretty much got key gateholders or gatekeepers, I like to call them, that you would look after on day to day and they'd be your key clients.
Right.
If you're in an FM based role like cancer research, there's a wide range. Everyone's your customer. You're looking after everybody. Where you move into a residential unit, you've got 300 units that are being sold, and then your key client, who's the freehold, there's a lot more key stakeholders to look after.
Yeah, of course.
And that comes with somebody who I think a lot of the managing agents now, or the people who look after the residential side of the world, move more into the hospitality side of things.
Of course, yes, it is.
They look for a hospitality customer service based background for someone to manage the building.
Yes.
And I think that's very much how they sell their own selves, or how they sell to win the contract. As they say, they very much focus around customer service and hospitality. And so someone like myself from a facilities commercial background, when I come in, I'm very much heavily based and heavily focused on M&E compliance and making sure everything's 100% compliant across the building, and making sure our FRAs are done and water logs are managed correctly. And I love that side of things, to be fair. So that was I think I was perfect fit for residential because I was great with people, and also great with M&E and compliance or health and safety, and I think I'm very good at building a trust with leaseholders in regards to how they feel safe in the building, and that piece of resident engagement, which is a big thing nowadays.
Yeah, I think your character, just meeting you now, that you're very confident and very approachable. I feel I could trust you.
Correct. Yeah, yes.
I sense it in someone.
I think that very much about buildings as well. I think sort of FM teams and people who manage things, there is sort of a brand to it. Everyone manages their own building. Everyone has their own way of managing things, especially in FM. I mean, everyone's got their core thing. I think there's a good thing to sort of add your own brand and your own personalised touch to that.
Absolutely.
And because each manager is different, and each manager will manage FM differently. And so I think that's always a good,
coming in from all different backgrounds. This isn't a sort of question that I was going to say. So Do you have a mentor, or is there who sort of gave you that sort of push? Or did you know you were going to come down this route?
Question, actually, very good question. When I was at Cancer Research, we leased that. Well, we leased a lot of buildings off of Savills at the time, and a gentleman, probably line manager at the time, so I had massive energy and big energy, and he sort of said to me, the gentleman at Savills would be interested in mentoring you for a little while.
So that's great. So you actually had a mentor.
Yeah, I did actually have a mentor. Yes, so a gentleman called JP, John Frederick Paul. The gentleman he looked after. I think he's the client service director at the moment. I'm giving him a bit of a shout out here. He was client, I think, at Savills at the moment. So he's client service director at Savills currently at the moment. But at the time he was my mentor at Cancer Research. Wow. I still have him on LinkedIn and speak to him. So every time I haven't spoken to him for a while, but the gentleman pretty much sort of gave me a little bit of a mentor experience and helped me out a lot.
That's lovely.
And it was just probably a conversation for half an hour on a Friday. How's your week been? Anything you want to highlight? Anything you want to go over? And I think a lot of the time I went over a lot of contractor-based things with him. Like, I've got this issue, or how's best to approach this situation? Should we get a secondary quote? Should we get a secondary bit of advice? How do you feel? Have you experienced that before? And that really helped. That was a really big thing. And that really helped me push.
Career.
Yeah, that really helped push me forward. I think it gave me a lot of confidence at Cancer Research after completing a lot of mobilisation periods. So, boy, from London going up to Cambridge and setting everything up, I think that was a big thing for me. Yeah. And there was a lot of trust placed in me from Cancer Research as well. Yeah.
You said that they kind of let you.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time of conversing with my mentor on that, and that was brilliant. I would also say that a gentleman at Brookfield spent a lot of time with me, who was a senior asset manager, a gentleman called John O'Keefe at the time, who worked for when I was at Principal Tower. He was sort of my key communication back into Brookfield. So they own the freehold.
Yes.
And I would pretty much go back into them quite often on reporting and being that key line of reporting on defects, and at larger scope back to the construction company, which was Multiplex at the time. He spent a lot of time with me, or probably had a lot of time for me, because I was pretty early on, or pretty young in a very large job role. So, or in very senior meetings, talking to very senior individuals about large sums of money and large defects.
Yes.
On a very high network asset building in London.
Yes.
So I think Brookfield's given me a lot of time. So I give a lot of thanks for that gentleman who sort of sat down and
helped to develop your career.
Correct. And I think as well, like you said, I'm quite confident. I think I also build trust into the client. Pretty much I do my due diligence. I know where I am with my work and what I'm doing. So when I report back, or I feedback, or I sit down or present what's happened with a building, I can always give a clear answer, a clear thing. And I think people like that from me.
I feel like you'd be very honest as well.
Yes.
This is the problem.
I'd say one thing I've always been very good at is taking an issue or a defect and probably dragging it back over specs, going all the way back to specs, looking at what was agreed at the time, what was agreed during commissioning, what was the specs, then going through commissioning, saying what was agreed, is there anything highlighted, and then actually I'm very good at articulating what we've actually got, so presenting what the end user has actually got. And I do spend now, even at Canary Wharf Group, I spend a lot of my time talking to developers about end user specs.
Right.
Because one thing I walked into being quite naive over the last few years is developer specs are very shell and core. They're very generic. If you ask for, I'll give you a good example. At Principal Tower, I remember asking for the security spec. And the security spec come back very generic, sort of to say you need cameras to keep your building safe. And I was sort of with the consultants around the table saying, where does it say what cameras you need? Where does it say where? Where does it say, what systems you should install, where you should have put the camera? Or does it say you should have a PTZ on the outside? I said, it's a very generic document, a generic spec. So being FM, being end user, I do a lot of my time feeding back into development specs now, especially at Canary Wharf, and making sure we align that and get that right. And again, probably like we said about the blinds and things like that, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot over mobilisation. I've learned a lot over development. So I'm kind of a key person to feed that back into how to set things up.
Sounds like you've learned everything from start to finish.
Correct, yeah, very much. From the bottom up, correct.
Very thorough as well.
Yes.
You had a really good grounding.
Yeah. And pretty much at the moment now, I am still naive to a lot of the development spec, and I'm with a developer now, and working for a developer, and I think that's where I will be and where my end career will be.
Right.
And that's what I'm currently learning now at the moment, as much as I am still the residential building manager and looking after 3-4 different buildings and got a commercial portfolio and a residential portfolio. At the same time, I will still work with development in that aspect of things and that whole real estate.
I think you've got a terrific career ahead of you. Just
you
seem to know, or you either fall into it somehow, or it's just going that way, isn't
Correct,
it?
yeah.
So, that sort of leads me on to, obviously, you've explained where you are now and what you're managing at the moment. What does a day in your world look like today? What will you do?
Yeah, sure. I run a lot of day-to-day operations, so I will look after the day-to-day operations. I've got a small, I'd like to say it's a small team, but they are very much not under my line management anymore. I do miss a heavy team. I used to have 70 members of staff in my last building.
So you've done that too.
Yeah. I've done a heavy team. I used to like having a big team. I liked having a big team.
Stress in itself. People.
People. But yeah, correct. Yeah, the staff can cause you a bit of stress. I always think you've got one thing I probably would say to myself as well now is just everybody learns at their own pace and everyone gives what they can give. Don't expect everyone to have the same standard, especially when you're line managing, and try and get the best out of that individual. You know, if someone might perform to a higher standard than somebody else, it doesn't mean they're not still performing. It just means that they're performing to their ability. Yeah. And I think understanding people's ability as a line manager is a key thing. It's a good
quality for a manager to have, and very good advice to our listeners. That are in that situation at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. If you're struggling and you think someone isn't pulling their weight or isn't doing that, sometimes it isn't about them pulling their weight. It's just their levels of capability, and they might have a brilliant thing that they can do that you're just not utilising. And sometimes it is just about finding what somebody's good at and giving them the ability to do that. I mean, if that makes sense.
You guys would have hired them in the first place, so you've got to have some qualities in there that you saw in the beginning. Yeah, and it's about developing them, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and I think I do take a little bit of time developing. But sorry, going back to where I am now, I manage more of the managing agents now. So I have affordable housing, a couple of units over down at the back end, which is managed by the Pinnacle Group. So I'll manage Pinnacle and look after Pinnacle. I'll obviously manage that from a Canary Wharf perspective, push them along, make sure they're doing their job, make sure they're doing the resident engagement piece and making sure everybody's happy, but at the same time supporting them. And I think that's, again, what I'm really here for, is to make sure everyone's supported and everybody's happy, and that's what my core role is to do. At the end of the day, if Pinnacle are not performing, it's on my head. So it's about me making sure Pinnacle are performing and giving them the tools and the ability to do so. Additionally, the build to rent side of things is managed by Virtus. So Virtus are owned by the Canary Wharf Group. They are our managing agent, so to speak. So there are our version of a letting agent, and they will let out all of the property, and I will help to support and manage that Virtus side of things as well. I do work very closely with Virtus. I'm almost seen as a Virtus employee to some aspect and some extent, because I will still be their building manager. So Canary Wharf will still look after them sort of buildings. Virtus will need me as their building manager to manage all that M&E facility side of things. So wear many hats. I'm all on. So all of that M&E side of things, the water logging, the compliance, the PPMs and all of that side of it, I will manage all the PPM side of it. So we're currently at the moment actually bringing that in-house. We currently outsourced at the moment to a facilities management company, and we're an M&E company, facilities management company. We're bringing that all in house at the moment. So I'm currently just going through that. We're creating that whole piece of work, creating the CAFM system, writing down all the PPMs, employing a couple of engineers, getting a grade 2 engineer in, and building that piece of work across the estate now at the moment. And that will filter out, and they will report into me, the couple of engineers, and then I'll just carry on managing the 2 property managers and that property group and that wider thing there. And then so day to day, I'll look after the building management side of things from there. All of the contract tender for all of the estate, across the estate. And then I also have some key gate holders, so to speak. Apart from the property managers, there is some commercial units. So there is an NHS building at the back, which pretty much runs itself, in all fairness. The
community down there.
Yeah, correct. A whole point, I think, is
Canary Wharf's got its own.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of Canary Wharf now. Yeah, it's pretty much a city in a city, and I think that's what they're trying to build.
Yes.
I don't want to speak too much on Canary Wharf, but I'll walk through it. Probably the 1.0, I think it was 2.0 or 1.0 was sort of building in the banks.
Yes.
So back in the day, you had sort of building in all the banks, and I know I'm probably not doing them enough justice here, so I do apologise.
There is a video on your website.
Correct. Yes. They show us it in the induction as well, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Pretty powerful
stuff.
Yeah,
the induction with Canary Wharf has been absolutely brilliant, to be fair. You've got the CEO, and the CEO comes down and speaks to you about it as well. So
Oh, wow.
Actually, wow, I was a bit impressed by that as well. Yeah, they do. So they do that 1.0, which was building in the banks. A 2.0 was extension of Woodwolf in the residential side of things.
Yes.
And then 3.0 was making the parks and the water come to life.
That's it.
And then they're now on to 4.0.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're currently in 4.0. No, I think it's 4.0 is in the process at the moment. And that's sort of building the theatre. Part of my key piece as well, sort of the community side of things and building that community in. And I think the whole idea, the end goal, is to really build a city in a city. Yes. So they don't want people to really leave. The whole idea is, we've got an NHS, we've got a dentist, we've got schools coming in.
There is.
There's a multi
school down there, isn't there?
So the university. Sorry, that's the 2 things we're building: the university and see. I told you I wasn't doing them justice.
I watched the video, so I was looking to see. I like to see who I'm about to interview, who they work for. So it's it's really important to have a look. It's really impressive down there. I know Canary Wharf,
I think the younger generation understand Canary Wharf, very much the under 35s. They understand it's a lively place, it's a brilliant place to come, especially the nightlife. The nightlife too, it's fantastic. The shopping's brilliant.
It's more accessible now as well with the Elizabeth line.
You are 100% correct.
I passed that day.
Yes.
To High Holborn. I'm coming, I'm going to Tottenham Court Road, so I see we go straight through Canary Wharf. It's a lot more accessible for people now, because it always used to be a bit of a come right into the city to go back out to Canary Wharf, and because I live in Kent, so it's
100% correct.
Yeah,
100% correct. You're 100% correct. I think the Elizabeth line extension has been a wonder for them. It really has. And all that. I think during the Jubilee line come in, it was a big help, but now they've got that Elizabeth line as well. You're 100% correct. It is very much about accessibility into it.
I could talk to you for hours, literally. Sorry, guys, we digress. But yeah, I love Canary Wharf. But yeah, let's go back to where you are now. Where do you think the industry is heading? The FM industry. We mentioned about sort of.
I think over the last sort of 10 years, as long as I've been in the FM industry, obviously the energy. The ESG strategy is coming in, which is a big thing.
Yes.
Obviously, you've got net zero, which is a big thing. I remember being at Principal Tower and working on the ESCO agreements and a lot of that, and working with people that were coming in that were building heat pumps, and sort of working with the surveyors and the energy companies and Principal Tower. I know Principal Tower is always at the forefront of things, like pretty much with the Building Safety Act and regulating, bring that into the regulator. We was one of the first buildings regulated for that. So I know a lot of people are still going through that building safety case and building their building safety case at the moment in residential. So I think Building Safety Act and the Building Safety Case, the golden thread of information, everybody's currently focusing on in residential, and we'll reduce that Grenfell piece, and we'll get that right. Everyone will need to get that right.
Absolutely.
And I think it's needed. It will happen.
Yeah.
But everything will move down an ESG strategy way. Heat pumps and your little bits.
Energy saving.
Come to say that the whole piece of where I'm at the moment at Canary Wharf, it is absolutely massive, especially what they've done with Eden Dock,
right?
Which is something to really look at. It's really to look up, to behold, which is bringing in all the nature. They've built that whole Eden Dock piece, which is a real part of their ESG strategy, I believe.
Yes. Nature to bring more nature.
Yeah, to bring more nature. So it brings in all the ducks, plants, birds' life. Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant. If you're ever there and you walk down the dock, please do it. It's absolutely fantastic. It really is. It really is. But yeah, no, I think the FM industry is changed. It's always changing, and I think that's where it will push and head down. A sort of a big involvement of ESG, or everyone will be involved in an ESG strategy at some stage.
Yes, it's big.
It's a big thing,
isn't it?
But I think it's changed a lot, just generally from people sitting downstairs in basements as engineers, and I think the whole collaboration of hard services and soft services has come together as one piece. I think it was very separate, especially when I first come into it was sort of changing, and I've always been part of the change. So it's always changing, it's always evolving, but the ESG strategy, getting these heat pumps in, are going to be a big thing for anyone that's got assets, and you're looking at it as an asset or as a developer. You really want to get your assets right at the moment.
It's all about AI and technology as well. Are you guys getting involved in that sort of thing on the residential side?
Nothing's really been brought into my knowledge that I'd say really I'd jump at and say everyone's sticking to their building and really add. But I think there will be something that comes along over the next few years. I think they're focusing really on customer service at the moment, and what we can add. So sort of like apps and portals and things like that to help with resident engagement will be key.
Yeah, so that's not in place yet, or is that something?
There's a lot of apps. There's a lot of apps, portals, stuff like that. Yeah, correct. So if you've got a residential building, there's normally an app for all the residents to go on and that will interact with everyone. That's do your.
So if there's any problems in the building, they can.
Correct. Yeah. You'll be able to go on. You can go on. You can report it. Slightly different. I think there's a big difference between build to rent and sold apartments as well. I'm currently at, if they're sold, my remit will stop at the front door. Right. Build to rents, my remit will go past the front door, which is a big difference. Yeah. But that whole just interaction with residents, that whole engagement, how would they report an issue? How do they contact you? And they've got they've got different ways they can come see you verbally. They can and again. How do you communicate with them? Is you can put videos up, you can put signage up, you can send emails out on the app. So that really piece is coming in. I'd like to see what really comes in M&E wise. I don't know, things like leak detection and stuff like that. Leak detection's changed over the years a number of times. And
It's got that in the flat that we're in. It bibs, literally, if I drip any water at all. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like, any type of steam. It if I oversteam, it's
that goes off. Yeah.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah. No, I think
you had a leak. That's why. So
pretty much all M&E things are sensors and things like that. And I think there's got to be a way of implementing AI into sensors or adding that. Of some sort of genius out there that's probably thinking you can get a ChatGPT to have an eye instead of a sensor. Yeah. I don't know, but
where's it going? We don't know.
Yeah. I think there'll be a way of someone will change M&E technology, and then when that happens, there'll be a big change because companies will then look to invest into new products, and then there'll be a change in the whole of the industry a little bit.
So looking back, what moment or project are you really proud of? I mean, you've got quite a few there, haven't you?
Two probably. I probably haven't gotten too much detail into what I've actually probably done day to day with like snags and defects, because some of them are quite big and massive.
Yeah, of course.
Cancer research. probably the whole era of cancer research, but probably the labs and looking after the labs was a big thing. Doing the Antibody Alliance during COVID was a big thing.
You were there.
Yeah. During COVID, so they put a investment into AstraZeneca,
Right.
and I used to. So I was part of the Antibody Alliance with AstraZeneca during that period of time. So I used to go all the way up every day during COVID.
So
Jump on the train from Marble Arch, to go Marble Arch to Cambridge every day, and really help to develop that lab and to get that lab into a piece. I don't know how much they've done in regards to producing the AstraZeneca drug, but they was part of that, and that was the whole idea during COVID. I
suppose they would have to work with that,
with that vaccine, it was all part of that vaccine, and I think that was a big thing at the time. And the whole cancer research piece, just looking after them, I do still have a smile about that. There were some brilliant people there, really great place to work, really great people. And then Principal Tower, seen-off defect list, a few meetings in there, and really pushing a few contractors, and I had some very, very good wins. I won't name anything on the podcast, but I did get a very, very good win, and some very, very good wins on the defects over there. I'll tell you after in a coffee. Which I think put me on the map a little bit for the client. I think the whole piece of that, there was some great famous people in the building, some great high network individuals in that building that owned, obviously, £10 million apartments and so on. That was it was a very niche place, and not a lot of people have ever managed it as well. I think they've only had one manager who's overseen that, and then I come in as an operations manager. I left, and no one's ever done my role since or done anything. So they've only ever had one manager for that whole period of time for the building's life. So quite a niche place to manage, being a Fosters and Partners building, 50-story skyscraper tower, registering that building as being one of the first buildings to be sent off with a regulator for the Building Safety Act. That was a big thing. Because now, I've gone into Canary Wharf Group, and part of their training to train other building managers on the Building Safety Act, I've been part of just over-reviewing that training piece for Canary Wharf, which is a big piece. They're training all their other managers on legislation, on legal requirements, and I've come in to look at that training piece and to see how it fits in. So Building Safety Act, Principal Tower was a big thing. The client, I think managing the relationship with the client at Principal Tower was a big thing, and cancer research itself as well. And then partly just to say all that, one achievement I would say, just for anybody out there who is listening that has learning difficulties. I was given a lot of learning difficulties when I was younger in school. Never finished school. Never left with a GCSE. So I would say anybody that if you really just put your head down, if you really want to work, if you've got ambition, you've got a bit of energy, you want to do the right thing, you will get there. Just put your head down and go for it. Especially FM. Just, I've got class with dyslexia, quite heavy. I do massive business cases now. I write business cases. I remember writing business cases at Principal Tower for stuff that, looking at document specs and stuff like that. And I'm self-taught. It's all self-taught.
You must be.
All self-taught. I've had a couple of people obviously mentoring me and helping me along the way.
Really?
And taking the time. But
you've done it yourself. And that was the question I was going to ask you. Sort of, if there's something you wish you knew when you were starting out, but you kind of really answered that. I guess just keep your head down.
Keep your head down and keep going. I think don't let obstacles get in your way. And especially when things go wrong. I was listening to some of your podcasts as well, and I think they were talking about how FM's all people, and it is all people. And when people are upset and stuff's not working, and you're waiting on a part, or a contractor ain't getting back to you, or you need a specialist to come and look at this, and people are moaning, and just don't get down. Don't get down about it. Stay positive. Stay happy. Things work out in the end. At the end of the day, and as well, if you are in commercial, I think it's sometimes it is easier. Residential, I've had middle of the night, I've got no hot water, I've got no heating, and so just I think just reassuring people, stay positive, stay happy, and
I get that from you. I can see that you're very positive and passionate about what you do.
Correct. Correct. I think I'd say that just to touch on that lastly, I think I do have a very strong passion and energy for looking after people's investments, especially when it comes to higher end residential units, and the same thing for people that probably buy commercial units on floors. It is their business. It is their home. They have owned it, and there is a lot of pride in protecting their investment. And whether that is a business that, have got rent rates, like a gentleman at Morrison's at the moment. I've got Morrison's daily, and he's looking after that gentleman who's quite, he's got a family to feed, and it's his business and it's his livelihood and it's his day to day. And it's the same with people that live, breathe and have bought an apartment or even own an apartment. There's a lot of ownership and pride in one, making sure it's safe, and two, making sure that you are actually protecting them, because that's what you are here for, to protect their investment property. And especially, Principal Tower, you're there to invest in, to protect that investment property, and there's a lot of money at stake in regards to that. And I would want somebody to do that for me if it was my property or if it was my investment.
Of course,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, they're in good hands, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd like to think they are. Yeah.
I think so. We'll have to come down and have a look. So if someone came to you tomorrow, sort of saying to you, I want to do what you do, what would you say to them?
Go for it. I wouldn't tell them to not go for it. I'd tell them to go for it. Tell them to go for it. I would say, I don't know. I would say I never really had a passion when I was younger. I didn't know what I was going to do when I left school. So if someone says, "Oh no, I wanted to go into property or wanted to go into the property side of things," there's a great way of starting at a letting agent. But I would say go into facilities.
Okay.
Because facilities is property, is property faced in compliance and knowledge.
Yeah.
Where I think letting agents are focused around money and making money. They just want to sell the property and then lease the property and collect their commission. So if you want to go into property, you want to do what we do, you want to do that, facilities is the place for property.
Yeah.
Don't go into property to try and buy and sell houses. Go into property to look after and manage investments.
There's a lot of apprenticeships as well now. There's a big push on it. It has been for quite a while now.
Agreed. I think that's where I am. When I first started out, there wasn't very much a way into development.
Yeah,
it was.
There is now.
Yeah, then that is the apprentice developer or the trainee developer manager and stuff like that. And I think that's quite a new thing for developers.
Yeah,
I think normally developers have been quite closed off, and now they've sort of.
It's really monitored as well. With the apprenticeships. That's where that's the route my son went down, was an apprenticeship route.
The best thing. Yeah, really are
doing really well. Aren't
good.
So
what's he exactly doing?
He's a cybersecurity analyst.
Okay,
for a hedge fund in London. So he did all that on an IT help desk apprenticeship. So in facilities world, they have that. There's an apprenticeship for everything.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
and you get paid then. So
no, you get both. Both at the time.
Coming out of school and not having qualifications to go and it doesn't always have to be that way. There is other options and get paid for it too. All about that. No debt, no uni debt. Not saying that uni isn't important. It is, but there are other options for people and have a look at that. So, all right, let's come away from work. What do you do? What do you like to do outside of work? What's
I'm pretty much two. Or three if you include football. I do like my football.
Okay.
But
watch or play or both?
No, I'd say horse racing now. I follow horse racing more.
Right.
Yeah, I do like a horse racing.
Okay.
I've invested into a syndicate.
Okay.
Probably shouldn't say it. Yeah, probably lose now. I won't win. No, I love my horse racing, and I'm pretty much a gym advocate as well. I love running. I'll do a couple of fun runs every year. Yes. I try and fit one in. I was sitting there looking at going abroad to do a couple of runs as well, do a couple of 10Ks. Yeah, they're great. They're brilliant. They look
marathon.
Yeah, they look. I don't know if I do half. I'll try and fit on a 10K. But no, anything like that. So sort of like a bit of running, I like to stay fit. I like to stay positive. I'll run 5K. Yeah, really good for mental health.
It's Mental Health Week this week.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go. Yeah, no, 100%. It really, really does help for me. I'll go for a run, and then sometimes I'll be honest with you, some of my best ideas are when I've been for a run, I've been on a workout. So and it's good to come away. I don't stop.
Well done.
I never stop. I always keep going. I'm just
kind of got a great package and a balance.
Correct.
That's the word I'm looking for. of how to sort of live.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
And switching off from the
switch off for the
socialising and getting out with friends and that.
Yeah. No, so a lot of us will go horse racing now. So I'll follow horse racing more than what I'll follow football.
That's your social side.
That's my social side now as well. Yeah, so we're running a little syndicate, and then we'll go. I'll go Newmarket. I'll go Ascot or Cheltenham, and go to a few things. And that's my. I think Derby's this weekend, actually. I'll be at Derby this weekend.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, do you actually physically go?
No, I'll go and watch the Derby. I ain't going this weekend. I've been the last couple of years, though. It's in Epsom Downs, so I'm going to go to Epsom and watch the Derby. But no, I'm not going this year. But that's my passion outside of work, to be fair.
I like that. You've got good balance going on. And okay, last one. What's the best bit of advice you've ever been given?
I'll go with a quote, which I kind of live my life by, which is evil only prevails when good stands by and does nothing.
Goodness me.
Which is my quote, and I live by that, and I stand by that, and I kind of have a very high level of ethics, or if that's the word.
Yeah, ethics,
ethics,
ethics.
Ethics. That's and I mean that in everything, and I think that's a lot of taking ownership of your building.
You're responsible, and
So if you see something that's wrong, don't just let it go.
Swerve it.
Don't swerve it. Follow it through. Yeah. Even if it ain't in your remit, if it's outside, just take ownership of it. And I'll give you a great example of that. I will pick rubbish up off the floor. Yeah. I will be in a lovely suit and about to present in a meeting, or, looking sharp as I possibly can. There'll be a dirty tissue on the floor. It's not my dirty tissue, but it's in the lobby of the building. I'll pick it up.
Love that.
Evil only prevails when good stands by and does nothing.
I love this. Thank you so much, Charlie, for coming to speak to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I feel like you've got a lot to give back. People may want to contact you on LinkedIn. And, when we ask you some questions. So that's sometimes quite common. So, as long as you're happy for them to do that.
Yeah, please do. More than welcome.
Thank you so much, Charlie, again.
Thanks for having me both. Appreciated.
Lovely. So that's the end of today's session with Charlie Wells. And we shall see you next time. Please like, share and follow. And we'll see you next time when we have our next special guest on. Thank you.